Paleontology! You know it, you love it, it's one of man's greatest fields of science. And I bet a bunch of you watching this don't even know what it is. So, before we get into all of the fun stuff of scientific colonialism and all that cool things, we're going to talk about what it is real quick and go over the basics. So, paleontology is the study of long dead plants, animals, fish, whatever, when it's in fossilized form. So it can be dinosaurs, which is the main thing that people think of, but a lot of the times it's microscopic organisms or plants, all that fun stuff. And we can use it to dictate our past and also figure out climate changes in the future. It's a very important field of science that not a lot of people care about, but I care about it a lot, and so I'd like to talk about it. So today I'm going to be talking about one of paleontology's, as a field in general, one of its many flaws, and that is scientific colonialism. Scientific colonialism, when you hear the name, it sounds pretty scary. It's two pretty big words, scientific, ooh. I'm sure a lot of you guys are scared by that, but don't worry, I'm here today to explain it to you. If you see me looking to the side, my script is right here on my computer, so I'm gonna be reading it a little bit. Okay. Scientific colonialism is the process in which a more developed country, in this video, namely Germany, is going into a lesser developed country, such as Brazil in this example, and to do their scientific research. Specifically, they conduct their research without any local scientists' help or giving back to any of the community. So essentially, in this case, what they're doing is they're going into these places to, dig up some fossils, as a paleontologist does. They dig up fossils, and then they take the fossils, and then they leave without giving those back to that country of origin, a lot of the times illegally smuggling them out. This can be any country that is more developed going into a lesser developed country. Usually it's the US or Western European ones, but specifically today I'm going to be talking about Brazil and Germany. So now that that's out of the way, probably wondering, hey, I don't care about rocks, they're old, and also, how is this colonialism? This is just Western scientists going into other areas to do their research. And why should I even care about rocks being taken from one place to another? And I would say that's a great question, but it's also very rude, but I'm going to explain it to you anyways. So, let me tell you, scientific colonialism, through the means of paleontological expeditions, oppresses indigenous knowledge, preserves power imbalances set thousands of years ago, and leads to exploitation of developing countries. This is bad because it can hinder the development of local scientific abilities and knowledge, and it gets rid of fossil heritage. And no, it's not just some guys going and studying in other areas, it's people going to other countries and illegally taking fossils without the consent of that country, never giving back to the community from which they took from. This topic has recently been put in the limelight with 2015's Tetrapodophis fossil being rediscovered and 2020's Ubirajara case, which I will get into in a moment. So, without further ado, let's crack in. Let's dive into the specifics of Ubirajara and Tetrapodophis. So basically, in Brazil, there was a fossil that was found by a German researcher sometime in the 40s or 50s, which was later named in 2015 Tetrapodophis. This fossil was taken illegally from Brazil and then put into a private collection, which wasn't rediscovered until 2015 when a man named David Martil was touring this private collection and noticed that this fossil wasn't like anything he had ever seen before. With the owner's permission, he took the fossil back to some labs, and it was named a new species, Tetrapodophis. Later on, a research paper was published by Christopher D. Dean, and it was theorized for a very long time to be the ancestor of all snake species. Tetrapodophis was a small, no bigger than a banana-sized snake with legs. That sounds like a lizard. It's not. Snakes with legs and lizards are different things. It's all about the pelvic bone or something. I'm not entirely sure, but it was a snake with legs, and it was presumed to be the ancestor of all snake species, and that's pretty important. And so Brazil was a little upset about that, how they didn't have this, and lots of government officials confessed that they would rather have the fossil placed in Brazil. Unfortunately, Germany didn't do anything about this, and it remains in the Bürgermeister Müller Museum today. However, there is hope. This isn't always the case with fossils, such as in 2020 when a new species of dinosaur was named in a research paper titled Cretaceous Researched. This new species of dinosaur was named Ubirajara, and this paper was co-written by a man named Christopher D. Dean, the same guy that wrote the paper on Tetraplodophis. Now, almost immediately, the public caught on and noticed that, first of all, Christopher D. Dean, suspicious, and second of all, the whole it's from Brazil thing, and Brazil is very strict with this. Why wouldn't have, what kind of stuff was going on here? People made a hashtag on Twitter, they boycotted the museum, and eventually the Brazilian government did get involved. After behind-the-doors discussions, the German museum removed their paper of Ubirajara, which makes it very hard to know much about the original research, as the museum has censored a lot of the information regarding this to save face. The whole thing led to a lawsuit, which I will get into in a second, but first I want to show you guys a photo of Ubirajara. So, there it is. Oh, that is the wrong photo. This one, and this one. What do you notice about it? I want you to sit there and really think, like, what do you notice about these photos of Ubirajara? You're probably thinking maybe the spikes on its back, the feather-like structures along its entire body, almost fur-like, and its bird-like appearance. These are all great observations. Good job. You did exactly what every scientist did when they looked at this guy. This guy has modified feathers on his shoulders that act as spines, and pseudo-feathers all over his body that were fur-like. And while not all dinosaurs had feathers, convenient. Like Spinosaurus would have looked kind of like this. This is a 2000 rendition figurine. But not all dinosaurs had feathers like Spinosaurus and T-Rex, but some did, and this was very important for looking at the evolutionary history of feathers, so you can see why Brazil would have wanted this guy back. Now let's get actually into the lawsuit. We're gonna speedrun this because the lawsuit was super long and super boring, so I'm just gonna say the real quick rundown of it. Brazil was mad and wanted Ubirajara back, obviously, because this is very important for fossil history, and Germany got it illegally. Germany basically said the legal version of nuh-uh, because they claimed that they got it legally, though this led to more backlash and more boycotting of the museum, so eventually Germany just said, okay, fine, and handed them the fossil. After this lawsuit, it led to many other fossils in German museums and around the world to be questioned on their authenticity of, being received, and so this has led to a very good impact on the fossil community because a lot of fossils have been returned to their countries of origin because they were gained illegally. For my next section, the Bone Wars, the name sounds admittedly way cooler than it actually was. I wish it was as cool as it sounded because the Bone Wars is awesome. It all started in 1864 when two guys meet each other in Berlin. One of them being Othniel, not sure, but Othniel, that's what I'm going to say, Othniel Charles Marsh, and the other being Edward Drinker Cope. These two were both paleontologists and quickly grew very fond of each other and became close friends. They spent the rest of their trip in Brazil together and were even named dinosaurs after the other person, so they were actually very close friends. But then their relationship began to sour about 13 years later, eventually leading to a long-standing rivalry between the two. The rivalry was so strong that it led into the work culminating in the 1877 Bone Wars. These two, basically in 1877, both agreed that they were better than the other. That's what they thought. And they wanted to prove this by discovering as many new dinosaur species as possible. And in 1877, I want you to think of the best place that had, new land, new cool stuff, plenty of dinosaurs that people hadn't dug up. I'll let you think about it for a second. 1877, it was America. And 1877's America sucked. Now, the West was still wild, the railroads had yet to be bought out by J.P. Morgan, which would later happen in 1888, so things were still largely transported by stagecoach. So, everything was messy, and Marsh and Cope were about to make things a lot messier. So, they went to Wyoming, Colorado, and Nebraska because they were known to be rich with fossils. And while this was a little bit after the westward expansion, there's plenty of areas that were not fully developed, obviously, especially in places like Montana that were so far from the east. Sorry, I had to do the never eat soggy wheat. Now, the Bone Wars weren't only focused on fossils, but also the acquisition of land and resources and pretty much anything that they could have to prove that they were better than the other. So these two were digging like crazy, not caring for the importance of the land that they were on or anything like that. They also employed hundreds of white settlers to help dig up the land and help on the dig sites, so that wasn't exactly helping with anyone's case. And at the same time, the US government was already actively displacing and trying to assimilate Native Americans into the European settler population. The Bone Wars had to end eventually in 1892 because both of them had literally no more money left. They spent all of it, and it effectively ruined them financially for the rest of their lives, and also ruined their reputations. There was no clear winner, but they discovered over 132 species of new dinosaurs. So, a lot of people debate whether the Bone Wars was good, was it bad? I'm saying it's bad because all of the reasons I just stated. This eventually set the precedent for modern-day paleontology expeditions, which obviously we're not, like, kicking people out of their homes to go dig up rocks, but, like, it is pretty bad. Many scientists disregard the land that they are working at and simply work just to get the fossils out, and then leave without giving back to any local communities. I've given just a few examples of all of this bad stuff, but there are hundreds, if not thousands, and if not millions of cases of this happening around the world. It doesn't matter if it's Germany or the US or the UK, which is also pretty bad, but I didn't get into it, or if they're going into Brazil or freaking Chile, I don't know, going into anywhere, but they're taking fossils. It's a very serious topic that no one talks about because frankly, a lot of people just don't know that it's happening. It's something that a lot of people don't care about. Why should I care about fossils? They're rocks. They're older than me. I don't care. So they go about their days and ignore this. I'm here to remind you that it is important. This is a serious topic, and you should worry about it. You should look around. Look at local museums and see, maybe, these aren't very ethical. Lots of museums in the world you probably shouldn't go to. Bürgermeister Müller Museum in Germany and the British Museum, just to name two. But there are plenty of great museums as well. The Burke Museum in Seattle, for example, is one that I was an intern at for a little bit and was great. They honor the land that they're on and they honor the people that once were there, and they have so many great just stuff. The Burke Museum is a very rare case for museums. Lots of them don't care at all. Scientific colonialism preserves power imbalances set hundreds of years ago, limits scientific knowledge, and rids communities of their fossil heritage. And also, with the growing commercialization of fossils and private collections becoming more and more popular, with people illegally acquiring fossils, it's only adding to the issues at hand. The worst part is that there isn't some knight in shining armor offering to help. There's no organization to donate to or anything like that. The only thing you can do is do some background research into museums before you go to them, be more wary of stuff coming from places like Patagonia or Brazil, which happens to them a lot, and going into Western European or American museums, and to just spread awareness with people you know. Overall, scientific colonialism is bad. You should care about it. Thank you for watching.